Hi there, lovely. One of the things that kept me drinking for much longer than it should have done was the fear that I would end up with no friends. It was crazy how much that mattered to me. And I found myself going down this catastrophic path of imagining that I'd be living alone with a house full of cats and dogs and parrots and budgerigars and just sitting on my own trying to keep myself company with a load of pets, despite the fact that I'm actually allergic to most animals anyway. But alcohol is great at sending you off down that catastrophic path. I genuinely believed that this would be real. And one of the reasons for that is because over the years, alcohol had given me the confidence and the bravado to be able to stand in a public place and talk to people. Now, for some of you who are quite confident, this sounds a bit strange, but I was not a confident young woman. I certainly wasn't a confident child. In fact, my confidence has all come from my sobriety. So alcohol was a great enabler to allow me to connect with people, which is obviously such an important part of being human. And over the years, I'd seen friendships kind of come and go, but there was a core of friends, but they were mostly built on drinking, about going out and socialising. We might occasionally do the grown-up thing and have a meal beforehand, but it was always a sort of precursor to going out and getting stupid drunk. And it felt like I was connected, that I had great friendships. So the prospect of choosing to put those at risk was really scary. As the day came closer for quitting, I had actually been living in Spain for a few months and I'd had to start over making friends. So I did what I always do. I went out and went into a bar. You can always find an English bar in Spain, and you'd find other Brits, and we'd stand around and you'd sort of, and Brits tend to be quite friendly, so we'd chat and I'd make friends. And over time, that started to become important because that was my social life. So when I quit drinking, I still had that nervousness, but I was at the point where I was quitting no matter what. I was so tired of alcohol that it didn't matter what situation I would end up in, I was going to live with the consequences. And so when I sort of met up with those people again, I actually found I didn't really have a great deal in common with them other than alcohol. And because I was by myself, I had time to reflect on friendships and who I was really connected to in that deeper, genuine friendship sense. And I realised something that actually was quite profound at the time, was that the people that I'd met over the years who were based in, those drinking relationships had no real depth. There wasn't a great deal of substance to them, and not because there was anything wrong with them or anything wrong with me. They were just very superficial relationships, because that has a tendency to be what alcohol can only allow, because you're never really your authentic self when you are drinking. And as a little side note, I know there's a common myth that the truth comes out when you're drinking, but as far as I've been able to ever see, when the truth really does come out, it's pretty awful. And I certainly have said things I would never say when I was sober. So I've never been 100% convinced by that one. And as I stayed sober for a period of time, what I noticed was some of these relationships just naturally fell away. And not in a bad way, or not in a, I'm never speaking to you again way. Just there was no reason for me to want to be with them because they really weren't my kind of people. And in reality, I wasn't their kind of people. And it just made me realise how much alcohol had been presenting such a false version of me. Because essentially, I'm actually a very quiet person. I like nothing more than a cup of tea and a book. I just didn't know that. So that side of it was really interesting. And over time, what I discovered, and it didn't take that long, is the friends who truly love me, the people who respect who I am, who have seen through alcohol to who I am from a very young age. Most of my friends are actually from school, from primary school and early high school days. They know who I am and they love me unconditionally in the same way that I do them. And those friendships are part of the kind of love and warmth I experience every day. One of the other things that's come out of this is that my sister stopped drinking as well a few years after I did. And the relationship that I have with her now, she's become another one of my best friends. Even last night we were out at a night market. It was never something I would have done when I was drinking, neither would she. But we went out and we saw local crafts and I had a cup of tea and we just had a lovely time together. And that kind of depth of ease that comes with my friendships now is something I would never give up for alcohol. And when I've been working with women, those kind of fears come up too. We all have very similar kind of worries that we are going to lose our friends. My experience and the advice I've always given to women is the people who truly love you will always love you regardless of what liquid you have in a glass or a cup. But the other side of that is that just because at this moment in time you're not drinking and your friends still are and it doesn't quite fit, doesn't mean that those relationships don't come back, because things change and they may come back, or you may find that they were never really you anyway. The most important thing is that if alcohol is a problem for you, you can stand in your own space, be who you are, enjoy being who you are, and enjoy the people who really love you. We don't have to put up with second-rate relationships just to feel like we are connected. One of the real drivers behind this is the fact that as humans, when we were cave people, we needed connection, we needed other people to stay alive. That's not necessarily the case anymore. But when you get sober, you can really enjoy being who you are and loving that. And if some friends disappear from your life, I would also encourage you to think of it in a that maybe they're just not ready for this version of you. Maybe they're not ready to see somebody sober that they know because they're scared that you'll judge their drinking, or that they're not ready to face up to their own drinking. There could be a myriad of reasons that are very rarely anything to do with you. So don't allow that fear to stand in the way of giving up alcohol, because at the end of the day, when you give up alcohol, it's one of the most loving things that you can do for yourself. And if you base all of your decisions on the most loving thing for you and ask yourself, what's the most loving thing I can do for myself? It might be to have honest conversations with people. It might be to withdraw from a friendship circle. It might be to do that temporarily or permanently. Whatever it is, do the most loving thing for yourself so that you feel good about your choice to let alcohol go in the same way that I have. If you'd like a little bit of support with planning around a successful social life without alcohol, there's a free guide in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching this to the end. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe, because that gets it out into the world so other women like you can get this kind of support. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon.